Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Serbia is in turmoil. What began as student-led demonstrations after the deadly canopy collapse at Novi Sad railway station, which claimed 16 lives, has grown into the largest civic uprising since the fall of Milosevic. Protests have turned violent, yet President Aleksandar Vučić insists his government is committed to dialogue, even offering a televised debate with students. At the same time, Belgrade maintains close ties with Moscow, with recent calls between Vučić and Sergei Lavrov fueling speculation about Russia's hand in Serbian unrest. Joining us is Tanya Domi, adjunct professor at Columbia University. Professor, welcome to TVP World. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So the protests have been going on for nigh on 10 months now and show no sign of abating. How would you characterize the political situation in Serbia at the moment when it comes to the student protests?
Well, I think given the longevity, the sustained longevity of these demonstrations by young people, I think Mr. Vučić, the president, has really been caught off guard by the vehement opposition, and he has a right wing that is also very strong within Serbian political circles, and anything that would be remotely liberal or progressive is almost non-existent. However, that might be changing under these circumstances, because these students, and as you announced at the beginning, this has been going on since the Novi Sad canopy collapse, and sustained. And even in Serbia's history, this outstrips anything in its history that would come close to this. This is the most sustained effort by the population. And as you also noted that there has been violence, I do know that students have been attacked by groups of individuals. That also precipitated, that began boiling like 6 months ago. So I think the situation is actually really dynamic, and also really it probably feels very out of control. Now, I've spoken to people on the ground who are inspired by these young people because they are making a demand that they will continue until Serbia adopts a system that, quote, values knowledge and work, not obedience and silence. And if you look at Freedom House analysis of the situation as far as the government goes, it is a hybrid democracy, and it really is almost semi-autocracy. Mr. Vučić has been in power since 2012. You could call this state capture, and one of the characteristics that accompanies that is media capture, which is a real issue that has been going on for decades in Serbia. The government is doing everything possible to control the media and the images that go out to the world. N1, which is an affiliate of the CNN, is allegedly being sold, and the government wants to get control of it from an editorial standpoint as well. So that's a factor in anger. But what else undergirds all of this is a really structured, controlled labor market that does not give young people the opportunity to enter into first jobs or occupations that would actually take advantage of their education. So this is a driver, a really strong driver among young people and their families, quite frankly. In
Could you clarify, Professor, when you say structured control of the labour market, what exactly does that mean, and why do these young people feel that they're not getting a fair crack of the whip?
Well, there's a high percentage of young people that already have jobs, but they're looking for a new job. In other words, they're not getting satisfaction of what is available to them to enter in the labor market. And it's a not a very broad or diverse labor market. And so people are very dissatisfied, and it also affects their quality of life.
Right. And what role does corruption play? Because, there was talk that the canopy collapsed because corners were cut and people, the construction firms or engineers may have sidelined some of the cash that was allocated for the construction of that canopy. How much of a role does corruption play?
Oh, it's a huge role. It is endemically corrupt. Endemically. I mean, this is which is also a characteristic of state capture and an autocracy. He doesn't have to answer to anyone. I mean, an example would be this deal he's made with the son of Donald Jr. Trump, who's got a development on the river in Belgrade, and there's no public review of this development. And Donald and Mr. Kastner has also been there, and they made a deal. It's a one-on-one deal. And so the public doesn't even know what's going on in this river development. So Jared Kushner has been playing a leading role in that. But people can't get jobs. You have to know somebody to get into a job. The government has a great deal of control about what is available to people.
Right.
So now, you're talking.
Serbia has ambitions to join the European Union. With this level of corruption and state capture of media, what chance do they have of getting into the EU? Surely the EU cannot, in all conscience, accept Serbia into their ranks, can they?
Well, I agree with those sentiments. And, Mr. Vučić says that they want to join the EU, but they have to demonstrate that they have actually accomplished the requirements to enter the EU. And they have done very little in that area, particularly with respect to rule of law and in terms of the justice in general and the courts and how it operates. So no, they're not ready to enter the EU, and I think it's real problematic. So he talks about it, but there's no action that really backs that up.
What about the influence that Russia has, and China perhaps, on Serbia? How much influence do they have on Vučić? I mentioned the phone call between Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, and President Vučić. How much influence does Russia have, and how much control does it have over what's going on in Serbia?
Serbia is the most pro-Russian country in Europe, with the exception of Belarus. That is a fact. And in Belgrade, on any corner in Belgrade, downtown Belgrade, you can buy a T-shirt of Putin. And not only that, he is the most popular person in internal polling, that Russia is the most popular country and Putin is its most popular leader outside of Serbia. Now, I haven't seen any recent polling, but historically that's how it has been. And in terms of media, I can tell you right now, Sputnik News is there. It's been there for many years, as is RT, Russia Today. And at the same time, the BBC removed its Serbian service. No more Radio Free Europe, no more Voice of America. And right now, N1 is in the potentially is going to be sold for the purpose of getting N1 under control. It's the only independent television station in the country.
Right. Now, what about the trade relationship between Serbia and the West? I'm thinking in particular of the purchase by Serbia of French fighter jets. How important is that to the West? And could those relationships actually pave the way for Serbian entry into the EU?
Yes, the purchase of French fighter jets is, I think, a low moment for Macron. He doesn't need to sell aircraft to Serbia. There were a lot of people that live in the Balkans were really very, very disturbed by that purchase by Serbia. Is it important? I think it's a dalliance. It's like, well, you can buy a fighter plane from France, but in the meantime, Serbia has built up a lot of arms and they've bought drones from China. They have really, Mr. Vučić has really done a major buildup. Where is he going to use these arms? Anytime you see an arms buildup, you always question, why would he need these? Well, when he has had episodes to, I think, distract the public, he has put MiGs up in the air over the border with Kosovo, which is still yet to be resolved. And to this day, since '99, when the war happened, Serbia doesn't recognize Kosovo's sovereign existence. So that's another problem for the EU. But the EU really has not, in my view, been very effective in the dialogue that they've established. It's been stagnant for over a year, the dialogue between Serbia and Kosovo, and that's a problem. And perhaps the audience knows or doesn't know that, in fact, there is a NATO reinforced presence in Kosovo for that very reason, for fear that there could be an encroachment, an armed conflict could actually occur under the right circumstances.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Professor Domi, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much for taking the time to lay this out for our audience. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Don't go away, though. As always, lots more coming up. Goodbye.